My name is Jewel Armstrong, and I'm 17 years old. On paper, my life looks perfect. One of those glossy brochure stories elite prep schools love to show off. I'm a senior at Northbridge Academy, the kind of place people whisper about when they talk about future senators and Wall Street prodigies. I'm captain of the debate team, ranked near the top of my class, and already drowning in Ivy League applications. From the outside, it looks like everything is falling exactly into place. Inside, it feels like I've been balancing on a glass bridge that my own mother keeps trying to smash. I grew up in a small town 2 hours from Boston. My parents divorced when I was 12. My dad, Connor, lives in the city and works in finance. My mom, Maya, stayed in our hometown, remarried a man named Greg, and had 2 daughters, my half-sisters, now 9 and 11. They're sweet kids. None of this is their fault. For a few years, I split my time between houses. Weekends with Dad, school nights with Mom, holidays divided like valuables in a divorce. Then, when I was 14, everything changed. That was the year I earned the Northbridge Scholars Award, a full-ride scholarship to the best prep school in the state. It wasn't luck. It was blood, sweat, and sleepless nights. Weekend debate tournaments, stacks of practice cases, summer programs I paid for by shelving library books and tutoring younger students. The scholarship selection committee looked at merit and financial need. I disclosed everything: split custody, Dad's income, Mom's household. My scores and circumstances pushed me into the full scholarship category. Dad hugged me until I couldn't breathe. "This is the beginning of everything, Jewel," he told me. "Mom?" She barely looked up from her phone. "Good job," she said, monotone. Then, "Don't let it go to your head." I didn't realize it then, but that moment redrew every invisible line in our family. The shift begins. After I transferred to Northbridge, Mom's voice changed. City girl. Harvard girl. Said like jokes, but her eyes never joked. Greg chimed in whenever he could. "Books won't build you a real house," he'd grunt. "Real people," he said, worked with their hands. Even my half-sisters, sweet kids, began parroting the adults. "Professor Jewel," they'd tease whenever I helped with homework. But it wasn't teasing. It was erosion. Slow, deliberate, designed to wear me down. Around that time, I met Liam, another scholarship student, son of a postal worker. Brilliant, awkward, out of place among Northbridge's billionaire legacies, just like me. We clicked immediately, first as teammates, then as friends. Then one day, in the quiet corner of the library during a snowstorm, with frost on the windows and warmth between us, he became my boyfriend. His family welcomed me like I belonged. Holidays felt lighter at their house. Chaotic dinners, mismatched plates, laughter that didn't sting. Meanwhile, at Mom's, the resentment simmered hotter. She forgot to pick me up from the bus station one Thanksgiving. I waited 3 hours in the cold until Dad drove 2 hours to get me. When I did stay over, she handed me chore lists while my sisters lounged on the couch. "Everyone contributes here," she'd say sharply. Greg always had something to add, usually an insult wrapped in a grunt. The warmth between us wasn't cooling, it was dying. The breaking point. By 17, I rarely stayed at Mom's for school breaks. Most of the time, I stayed with Liam's family. They didn't punish me for succeeding. "Your mom doesn't hate you," Liam said once, lying on the floor beside me with textbooks scattered everywhere. "She hates what you represent, that you got out." I wanted him to be wrong. Spring break was supposed to be quiet. Instead, it was the night everything cracked. The second I walked through the door, Mom announced a family meeting. Greg sat in the living room with a beer. My sisters hovered nearby, pretending to watch TV, eyes darting toward me with nervous curiosity. Mom paced in front of the coffee table like she was giving a courtroom speech. "We need to talk about the imbalance in this house," she declared. My stomach tightened. "What imbalance?" "Don't play dumb, Jewel," she snapped. "This family is being split down the middle, and you are the reason." Her words landed like stones. "You come home acting like a guest. You bring your fancy gadgets, your private school attitude, and you make your sisters feel like nothing." Greg nodded. "You think you're better than everyone because you know some big words. It's pathetic." I forced my voice to stay even. "I don't think I'm better than anyone. I just worked hard, that's all." Mom laughed bitterly. "Worked? Please. Everything you have is because your father buys it for you. The car, the school, the trips. That's not you. That's Connor buying you a life you didn't earn." "I earned my scholarship," I said, heat rising in my face. "You know I did." "Scholarship or not," she shot back, "you're living in a world you didn't build, and it's tearing this family apart." Greg leaned forward. The girls look up to you. All they see is someone who can't pick up a mop or babysit once in a while. Maybe if you stopped acting like a princess, they'd feel like you're actually their sister. This is ridiculous, I said. I'm here every holiday. I help. I just don't live here full time anymore because I'm building my future. Mom slammed a folded sheet of paper onto the table. It was a schedule. Chores, babysitting shifts, part-time job listings, and at the top, transfer to West Burbridge High, senior year. My heart stopped. You're transferring, she said firmly. You'll give up Northbridge, the debate team, all that elitist nonsense. You'll stay home where you belong. You're out of your mind, I whispered. Greg slammed his beer down. Watch your tone. I'm not transferring, I said. I'm not quitting debate. I'm not giving up everything I've worked for so you feel better about yourself. Mom stepped closer. This isn't a negotiation. Yes, it is, I said, and I'm not doing it. Silence dropped heavy in the room. Then Mom leaned in, her voice icy calm. If you won't cooperate, don't be surprised when Northbridge receives updated information about your real financial situation. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Maybe I'll call them, she said lightly. Ask if they knew Connor was paying for luxuries. The car, the dinners, the trips. Financial fraud is a serious thing in scholarship programs. You wouldn't, I whispered. Her smile widened, razor sharp. Watch me. That night ended with slammed doors, shouting, and my sisters staring at me like I was a stranger. I left at dawn, without saying goodbye, telling myself she would calm down. She didn't. 3 weeks later, an email from Northbridge arrived. A financial aid audit has been initiated. I stared at the screen as the words blurred. Mom hadn't been bluffing. She'd actually done it. She was trying to destroy everything I had built, just to regain control. The email from Northbridge sat on my screen like a slow-burning fuse. A routine verification has been triggered regarding your financial aid package. Please submit updated financial documents within 10 business days. Your extracurricular participation will be paused pending review. Paused, pending review. Those two phrases gutted me more than anything else. I forwarded the email to Dad with shaking hands, then stared at my reflection in the dark laptop screen. All I could think was, she actually did it. My own mother had pulled the trigger. Dad called within 5 minutes. Jewel, honey, I just read it. What happened? I told him everything. The family meeting, the schedule, the threats, Mom's tightening resentment like a vice around my life. By the time I finished, Dad was pacing, furious in a way I'd only seen once, during the divorce. She has crossed a line, he said sharply. I'll call the school. I'll call a lawyer. She doesn't get to sabotage your future because she's insecure. But I could hear something beneath his anger, fear, because we both knew Mom was capable of going further. Benched, frozen, suspended. The next few days were a nightmare. The school didn't accuse me of fraud, but because an investigation had officially started, they were required, by liability policies, to suspend my participation in the debate team. My coach sat me down gently, but the pity in his eyes stung. You're our best captain in years, Jewel, he said. But if you compete while under investigation and anything turns out to be inaccurate, the whole team could lose funding. I nodded, pretending my throat wasn't closing. Then came the next blow. The policy internship I'd been offered, my dream internship, sent a curt email saying their offer was temporarily on hold due to administrative issues. Not revoked, not denied, just frozen. Like my entire future had been put in a glass case. I went home and cried for the first time in months. Ugly, silent tears into my pillow until Liam showed up, letting himself into Dad's apartment like he always did. He sat beside me on the bed, no words, just warm presence. When I finally exhaled shakily, he said, This isn't about the school, Jewel. It's your mom. She's not done. You know that, right? I wished he was wrong, but I knew he wasn't. The rumors began. The audit hadn't even been active for 2 weeks when the first rumor hit. A classmate sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post from someone in my hometown. Looks like little Miss Northbridge is coming back home. Guess the fancy school wasn't so impressed after all. Comments followed. She always thought she was too good for us. Knew she couldn't keep up with those rich kids. The scholarship kids always slip eventually. My hands trembled. The source was obvious. Mom had always known exactly which veins of gossip to inject. Liam saw the post over my shoulder and muttered, She's turning the whole town against you. He was right. Over the next 24 hours, my phone blew up with notifications. People I barely remembered from middle school were sharing the rumor, tagging each other, speculating. By lunchtime the next day at Northbridge, people whispered as I walked past. So when's your big homecoming parade, Jewel? Your Highness, should we bow now or wait until you're dethroned? Northbridge kids loved a scandal, even if they had to invent half of it. The princess narrative. Then it spread further. Screenshots of mom's comments on community Facebook groups. She thinks she's better than everyone. She's forgotten her roots. Her father's money props her up. She didn't mention my name directly. She didn't have to. Small towns can connect dots faster than a conspiracy theorist with red yarn. Soon a nickname started floating around. The princess. First sarcastic, then more pointed. Someone photoshopped a picture of me in a fake tiara and shared it in a local meme group. I didn't even know these groups existed, but Northbridge kids found it and reposted it. My classmates started bowing dramatically whenever I walked into the cafeteria. It was humiliating, but humiliation wasn't the worst part. The worst part was uncertainty. Teachers asked if I was transferring. The school newspaper wrote a piece about scholarship integrity. Guidance counselors gently suggested I have a backup plan. The story, her story, was becoming bigger than the truth. Dad fights back. Dad booked an emergency meeting with the financial aid office. He went in person. I saw his tie, the one he wore to big presentations. I noticed the tightness in his jaw. They listened, nodded, sympathized. But the audit process didn't change. We have to follow procedure, they said, no matter the source. Dad left furious but helpless. Mom had found a weapon the school couldn't ignore. The escalation I didn't expect. I thought the rumors were rock bottom. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Dad got a call from Child Protective Services. Mom had filed a complaint. She claimed he was alienating me from the family, manipulating me psychologically, encouraging me to abandon my sisters. She painted him as an emotionally abusive father who bribed me with privileges. CPS is required by law to investigate every complaint. I sat in a plain office chair as a caseworker asked me questions like, "Has your father influenced your feelings toward your mother? Have you ever felt unsafe with him? Has he pressured you to distance yourself from your siblings?" It felt like defending my life with one hand tied behind my back. Dad's face afterward was hollow, devastated. "She's not going to stop," he whispered. "She doesn't care who she hurts, not even the girls." The investigation dragged for 6 weeks. 2 interviews with me, 1 with Dad, 1 home visit. It was ruled unfounded, completely dismissed. But damage doesn't wait for paperwork. Mom told everyone in town I had been involved in a CPS case. She didn't mention it was dismissed. Why bother with the truth when the lie was louder? I became that girl overnight, the one with a CPS record, the one whose father was under investigation. The shattering realization. One night, after scrolling through post after post mocking me or questioning my character, I broke down again. "I'm not even me anymore," I told Liam, choking on the words. "I'm just a story people are telling." He pulled me into his arms. "This isn't about you. It's about her need to control you." His voice was low, steady. "And she's not finished." He was right. I felt it, deep in my bones. Mom wasn't spiraling. She was strategizing. And the next move she made would hit harder than anything before. The CPS case eventually closed, unfounded, dismissed, over. But the damage wasn't undone. The audit continued dragging on in the background like a slow, suffocating fog. My future, the one I'd spent years building, was still stuck in limbo. Debate captaincy suspended, internship frozen, teachers looking at me with cautious sympathy, classmates whispering princess behind my back. It felt like living inside a spotlight I never asked for, one that made every flaw bigger and every rumor louder. But life kept moving, whether I wanted it to or not. And then Northbridge sent me an unexpected email. They wanted me to speak at the annual scholarship gala, a major donor event. Alumni, faculty, students, local reporters, all in one room. The speech was supposed to be generic. Gratitude, opportunity, excellence. A safe little highlight reel. I thought about saying no. I thought about hiding. But then I remembered every rumor, every Facebook post, every sneer in the hallway, every lie Mom had sprayed into the world with no consequences. No, I wasn't going to disappear. I was going to speak. The audit clears, finally. 2 days before the gala, I got the email I'd been praying for. The financial aid audit has concluded. All documents are accurate. No discrepancies found. Your scholarship remains in full standing. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I collapsed onto the couch and sobbed. Relief, exhaustion, rage, all tangled together. Dad hugged me tightly. "I told you the truth wins," he whispered. But I knew better. The truth didn't win. The truth survived. Barely. And my mother had been trying to bury it the entire time. The speech that wasn't in the script. The gala ballroom shimmered under chandeliers. Gold linens, polished glasses, people speaking in soft, cultured tones. I felt like a cracked version of myself stepping into a world that expected me to be perfect. Liam squeezed my hand before I walked backstage. "You don't owe them polished," he said quietly. "Just be real." When they announced my name, Jewel Armstrong, Northbridge Scholar, I felt 100 eyes turned toward me. I stepped onto the stage, looked out at the room, saw Dad in the back, standing just a little straighter than usual. I was supposed to thank donors. I was supposed to smile. Instead, I took a breath and spoke the truth. "I want to talk about what happens when the people who are supposed to support you try to tear you down." The room froze. Forks paused midair, heads lifted. I continued. "I didn't name names. I didn't point fingers. I looked right into the crowd. But I talked about sabotage, about being punished for succeeding, about what it feels like to earn something through years of work, only to watch someone try to take it away because they can't stand that you did." Silence swallowed the room. I felt my voice steady, grow stronger. Family doesn't end because of blood, and it doesn't begin because of it either. Family is the people who lift you up, not the ones who try to break you. When I finished, there was a long, breathless pause. Then one person clapped. Then two. Then the entire ballroom rose to its feet. A standing ovation. My heart felt like it was being rebuilt in real time. Then I saw her. Third row, arms crossed, face stone cold. My mother. I didn't know how she got in. Maybe some outdated database still listed her as a guardian. Maybe someone made a mistake. But there she was, staring at me like I was a traitor on trial. My stomach twisted. As I left the stage, she stood and began walking toward the side exit where I was headed. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. "You forgot to thank the woman who raised you." Her words echoed in the ornate hall. Gasps, murmurs, stiffened backs. Security intercepted her quickly, 2 guards stepping between us, guiding her away as she protested under her breath. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just muttered over and over, "Ungrateful child. Disrespect. After everything I've done." But the damage was done. Everyone saw. Everyone heard. The mask she'd kept so carefully in place for years shattered right in front of the school's most influential audience. The video goes viral. The school posted the gala video, my speech, on their official YouTube channel as part of donor outreach. Students shared it. Alumni forwarded it. Parents posted it on Facebook. Within 48 hours, it had tens of thousands of views across scholarship communities and New England prep school networks. Comments flooded in. "Proud of you, Jewel." Someone had to say it. Courageous speech. But Mom didn't disappear quietly. She doubled down. She made her own Facebook posts, rambling paragraphs accusing me of lying, of humiliating her publicly, of being brainwashed by elitist institutions and my father's money. Greg added comments calling me spoiled, manipulative, selfish. But instead of hurting me, their words only made them look unhinged. The world finally saw what I'd been living with. But her spiral was far from over. Mom's behavior escalated. She called my teachers demanding to know what garbage they were filling my head with. She emailed my internship coordinator accusing them of exploiting me. She posted long rants blaming Dad for poisoning me. Then things at home with my half-sisters collapsed. One night after drinking, Mom found an old box of my childhood photos. According to Greg, she smashed every frame against the kitchen wall, screaming, "She is not part of this family anymore." The neighbors heard not just yelling, but my sisters crying, screaming for her to stop. Someone called 911. Police arrived, filed a report, warned Greg that if another incident happened, CPS would get involved again. Another incident did happen. 2 weeks later, Mom showed up drunk at the girls' elementary school, demanding to pull them out during class. The principal called Greg. Greg called the police. That was incident 2, the final straw. Greg filed for divorce and for custody. Mom wasn't just losing control of me, she was losing everything. The divorce wasn't quick or quiet. It was a months-long implosion, messy, public, humiliating, and painful for everyone caught in the blast radius, especially my half-sisters. They were just kids, but they were old enough to understand that something was deeply wrong with the mother they adored. Greg wasn't leaving because of one explosion, or one drunken scene, or one smashed photo frame. He was leaving because the pattern kept escalating. The police reports, the school incident, the unhinged Facebook posts, the mounting fear in the girls' eyes. Their therapist, someone I'd never met, told Greg plainly, "Your home environment is no longer safe." And finally, at long last, someone in authority said the words I'd been screaming inside my head for years. But even then, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow. Court orders and consequences. At first, the judge granted a standard custody arrangement. Greg got temporary primary custody. Mom got alternating weekends. Predictable, structured, classic family court protocol. But she violated it almost immediately. She showed up at the house unannounced, called the girls 30 times a day, sent long, emotionally manipulative texts accusing them of turning against her like Jewel did. Even her own lawyer told her to stop. She didn't. She couldn't. And because she couldn't control her rage, the court took control for her. After months of documentation, missed therapy sessions, police notes, and emotional coercion, the judge changed the custody order. Supervised visitation. Twice a month. Only if sober. Mom fought it, screamed in the hallway, claimed everyone was conspiring against her. But the truth was finally stronger than her lies. Her world was collapsing, and she was the one swinging the sledgehammer. Turning 18, the day everything changed. 2 weeks after the gala, I turned 18. It should have felt normal, maybe a celebratory dinner, a birthday cake, something warm and predictable. Instead, it felt like shaking off a pair of chains I'd been wearing my whole life. Dad drove me to the office where I signed the documents officially declaring my independent status as an adult. No more guardianship, no more forms tied to Mom, no more legal control. I remember standing there, pen still in my hand, realizing she can't make decisions for me anymore. She can't interfere. She can't hurt me through the system. For the first time in years, I felt oxygen in my lungs. That same day, I changed my phone number, changed my email recovery contacts, updated all my academic records, listed Dad and Liam as my only emergency contacts, removed Maya Armstrong from every form in my life. Then I did the thing I'd been too afraid to do for years. I blocked her. Phone, email, social media, everything. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, out of survival. Liam held me afterward as I cried unexpectedly. Deep, shaking sobs I didn't even know were inside me. "You're free," he whispered into my hair. "It's okay to feel it." But freedom felt strange at first. Heavy, quiet, too quiet. Her attacks don't stop, but they lose power. Blocking her didn't end her chaos. It just redirected it. She emailed my teachers, claiming I was mentally unstable. She tried to contact debate judges. She showed up uninvited at a tournament and had to be removed by security. She sent rambling letters to Dad's office. She posted status after status accusing us of alienation and brainwashing. But she wasn't sabotaging my life anymore. She was only sabotaging herself. People in town unfriended her. PTA groups banned her for harassment. Even the Facebook communities that once echoed her bitterness publicly called her unstable. Her world was shrinking fast. And for the first time, I wasn't inside it. Restoring my life, piece by piece. With the audit cleared, everything I'd lost began returning to me. My debate captaincy, restored. My internship, reinstated. My scholarship, unchallenged. My recommendation letters, finally processed. But the biggest shift wasn't academic. It was emotional. I realized how much space I had rented out in my heart to fear. How many nights I'd stayed awake expecting the next explosion. How many years I'd spent being vigilant, careful, small. Dad saw me exhale one night over dinner. "You're learning to live without managing someone else's storm," he said. "That kind of peace feels unfamiliar at first, but it's yours now." And he was right. The divorce finalizes. Months of hearings, reports, lawyers, and supervised visits later, the judge issued the final order. Greg received permanent custody. Maya received supervised visitation only twice a month. That was it. The woman who had tried to control every inch of my life was legally limited to 2 monitored afternoons. And she used them rarely, because every visit required sobriety, accountability, and compliance. All things she had always refused to give. She faded out of their lives, just as she had once tried to fade me out of hers. A new life without her. For the first time, life felt steady. I poured myself into school, debate circuits, my internship, and my relationship with Liam. I built momentum again, slowly at first, then faster. My world felt lighter. Mom's absence wasn't a wound. It was relief. She was still somewhere out there, posting occasionally, muttering about betrayal, blaming everyone but herself. But she was no longer my orbit. She was just a distant story I had finally stepped out of. And when I walked across the Northbridge campus one evening, wind in my hair, scholarship secure, my future intact, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. 3 years passed. 3 years without drama erupting in my inbox. 3 years without emergency calls, smear posts, or legal threats. 3 years of peace, a quiet I didn't recognize at first, but eventually grew to trust. By then, my life barely resembled the girl who once stood frozen in her mother's living room, while accusations flew like knives. I was in my 3rd year of college, splitting my time between debate competitions, a policy research internship, and helping Liam launch a small civic tech startup. My name wasn't being whispered in school halls or hometown Facebook groups anymore. Professors trusted me. Recruiters emailed me. I was building a life that was mine. Solid, grounded, earned. Then, late one Tuesday night, I opened my laptop to an email from Greg. The subject line was simple. A request. I hesitated before clicking it. Jewel, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but the girls are 13 and 15 now. Teenagers, not children. They've been asking about you. They want to meet you, not the version they were told about. You. I understand if you say no, but I promised them I'd try. Greg. I stared at the message until the words blurred. It wasn't anger that filled me. It wasn't resentment. It was something softer and sadder. Because they weren't just the girls anymore. They were young women now, with questions I knew I could finally answer honestly. But I remembered the looks on their faces years ago. Fearful, confused, parroting words planted by someone who wanted me to disappear. That memory cut deeper than anything my mother ever did to me directly. I needed time. For 2 weeks, I thought about it whenever I walked across campus, studied at the library, or sat beside Liam during late-night coding sessions. He never pressured me, just held my hand when my mind spiraled back to a childhood I'd put away like a box of broken ornaments. Eventually, the answer came quietly. Yes, with boundaries. The meeting. We chose a small cafe near my campus, a neutral place, busy enough to feel public, quiet enough to talk. I arrived early, heart pounding, hands cold despite the warm cup of tea in front of me. When the door opened and they walked in, I almost didn't recognize them. They weren't the little girls who had hidden behind Greg's legs at the courthouse. They were taller now, older, nervous in a way that mirrored my own tension. The younger one, now 13, was the first to speak. Hi, she said softly. Hi, I replied, my smile shaky but real. The beginning was awkward, polite, surface level. We talked about school, hobbies, their classes, their favorite shows. Greg sat with us but let the girls take the lead, only stepping in when silence stretched too long. Then he cleared his throat. There's something I owe you, Greg said, voice cracking. More than an email. He looked me straight in the eye. I failed you, Jewel. I let resentment, my own and your mother's, turn me into someone I'm ashamed of. I should have defended you. I should have stepped in years earlier. I can't undo any of it. But I needed you to hear me say I'm sorry. He didn't blink, didn't look away. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't defensive. It was raw remorse, the kind you can't fake. The girls were crying by then. The older one wiped her cheeks. We believed everything she said about you, she whispered. That you didn't care about us, that you thought you were better, that you left because you wanted to. They looked up at me, tears shining. We're sorry. I took a breath, steady, deep, grounding. I won't lie, I said gently. What happened hurt a lot, and I can't pretend it didn't. But I never hated you, not once. You were kids, repeating what adults fed you. Their tears fell harder. I continued, softer now. Building something again. It'll take time, and it has to happen slowly, on everyone's terms. No guilt, no pressure. They both nodded quickly, as if terrified I'd change my mind. Greg exhaled shakily, relief flooding his features. In that moment, something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. Rebuilding, quietly. Over the next few months, we built something fragile and new. Not the old dynamic, not the version poisoned by manipulation. Something honest. They texted me questions about school projects, sent me photos of their artwork, cheered during live streams of my debate finals, asked for advice, real advice, the kind sisters ask each other. I visited their house for dinner. We played board games with Greg. The house felt warm, peaceful in a way it had never been when Maya lived there. And slowly I let myself trust it. One night after dinner, Greg walked me to my car. I still don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just hope one day you'll see me as more than the man who failed you. I looked at him for a long moment. You're trying, I said. That matters. It wasn't absolution, not a full bridge rebuilt, but it was the first plank. What happened to my mother? Greg told me one evening, quietly, that Maya had moved to another town. She still blamed everyone but herself. Him, the court system, Dad, Me, the school. Me, the school. She wasn't in therapy anymore. She wasn't using her supervised visitation consistently. She wasn't rebuilding. She was spiraling in circles. And for the first time, I realized I didn't need answers from her. I didn't need closure. I didn't need a final confrontation scene like in movies. Some stories don't get a neat ending. Some people choose their chaos. And I didn't need to follow her into it. A new definition of family. Years later, when I drove home from that same cafe after another dinner with my sisters, the city lights blurring outside the windshield, I realized something quietly profound. Family wasn't who raised me. Family wasn't who shared DNA. Family wasn't who claimed ownership of me. Family was the father who showed up every time, the boyfriend who held me through storms not of my making, the sisters who came back with honesty and vulnerability, the man who apologized and meant it, the people who chose truth over pride, growth over ego, love over control. I didn't rebuild the family I lost. I built one worth keeping. And in that moment, driving through the night, the air finally clear, I felt a kind of peace I had been chasing my entire life. Not fragile, not borrowed. Mine.